The next story I wanted to talk about is actually a fake news story, but it was so fascinating to read, I felt like I couldn't pass up the opportunity. So there's this article or this website called realrawnews.com. And over the past couple of weeks, they wrote these articles about Hillary Clinton going through a military tribunal, being convicted, and then her subsequent hanging. And it was extremely fascinating to read because there is zero fact to be found in any of this. It's completely fabricated, but people believed it, sadly. So I figured that we would read this article. The title of this one is Clinton Military Tribunal, Day 5, Conviction. And there's another article that's titled Hillary Clinton Hanged at Gitmo. I don't know if we'll get time to read both of them, but I figured we'd read the Day 5 conviction one. Remember, completely fabricated, zero facts to be found in this. Let's give it a read. A military tribunal on Thursday convicted former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton on charges of murder, conspiracy to commit murder, accessory to murder, child trafficking, endangering a minor, treason, and sedition. It's weird that they would convict her of treason because the definition of treason is, here's the constitutional definition of treason. Treason against the U.S. shall consist only in levying war against them, or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. No person shall be convicted of treason unless the testimony of two witnesses to the same overt act, or on confession in open court. I find it really strange that they would, try Hillary for treason, quote unquote, supposedly. Like I said, it's completely fabricated anyways, but I digress. Let's keep reading. The 2 male, 1 female panel of officers cast a unanimous verdict shortly after Vice Admiral John G. Hannock, who prosecuted the military's case against Clinton, showcased his final witness for the prosecution, Clinton's former strategist and lover, Huma Abedin. Okay, now let me explain who this person is, Huma Abedin, and why this is important. In case you haven't picked up on this yet, this is a QAnon news website, if you will. The reason I say that it's QAnon is because there's a QAnon conspiracy, basically, that you guys remember Anthony Weiner? Anthony Weiner was that congressman who got in a whole bunch of trouble for sending dick pics to people, and he actually sent a dick pic to the wrong person, and I believe he got arrested for it. Anyways, he's not a senator, anyway, as far as I know, he's not a congressman anymore. So after they arrested him, the claim by QAnon is they went into his house and they found his laptop, which had a video of Huma Abedin, which is this person on screen right here on the left, Huma Abedin, and Hillary Clinton. They had a video of those two. Oh God, I clicked a button. Hey, quit that, you. She's getting all on my green screen. No. Supposedly, they had a video on Anthony Weiner's laptop of these two people here taking the face off of a kid while they were still alive. And they were doing it that way because they wanted the adrenaline to pump through their blood so that they could drink the blood and get the adrenochrome out of it. Complete bullshit from top to bottom, okay? It doesn't work that way. That never happened. The video doesn't even exist. It's just fabricated, completely fabricated. The reason Anthony Weiner had that video on his laptop, supposedly, is because Huma Abedin was married to Anthony Weiner. They were husband and wife for a while. I don't know if they still are or not. Probably not. Anyways, that's the claim, the QAnon claim, that this laptop had this video on there. And that led to a bunch of claims by QAnon that, there's a child ring, a trafficking ring, where they torture people so that they get their adrenaline pumping through their blood and then they drink their blood to stay young. It's completely batshit crazy. Completely batshit crazy. Not linked to reality in any way, shape, or form. But anyways, that's why they're talking about Huma Abedin. That's who that is. And I noticed they said Clinton's former strategist and lover. Fascinating they threw that lover bit in there. They've never had a relationship as far as I know. Anyway, let's keep reading this fake news article. In exchange for leniency and a plea deal, Abaddon testified she and Clinton had shared underage children with her estranged ex-husband, Anthony Weiner. Pressed to clarify her definition of the word shared, Abaddon qualified her answer by saying she had practiced lewd and lascivious behavior on underprivileged minors Clinton had imported into the United States. American children? Vice Admiral Hennick asked. Yes, but not primarily. They're too easy to track, more often than not from poor countries, Abaddon replied. Oh my God. Again, this is playing into the whole, the government's tracking us thing. They're too easy to track. This is fucking ridiculous, dude. Would you tell this tribunal how you appropriated these children? Vice Admiral Hennick asked. Hillary used her government credentials. She had carte blanche as Secretary of State, former Secretary of State, and former First Lady. It was easy for her to bring orphaned children in from places like, say, Syria, Afghanistan, or Iraq. No one asked questions. No one to look for them, Abaddon replied callously. God, this is just terrible fan fiction. Asked to quantify her exploits, Abaddon said she couldn't count the number of underage boys and girls Clinton had brought to the U.S. under the pretense of providing them with a fruitful life, but she told the tribunal there had been many, most of whom were later sold or donated to influential members of the Clinton cabal. Oh my God. Who are the people? Vice Admiral Hennick asked. We never knew exactly. It's not like Hillary peddled them herself. She had someone handle that, and I don't know the person's name, Abaddon replied. This is so ridiculous. And yet she still refuses to speak, Vice Admiral Hennick observed. He asked the tribunal whether they had heard enough, and the military had presented overwhelming evidence of Clinton's atrocities against the U.S. and humankind. Unlike a conventional criminal trial, he reminded the commission a unanimous verdict was not needed to convict Clinton on any of the charges. A majority vote, he said, would satisfy justice. The tribunal arrived a guilty verdict after deliberating only 5 minutes. They found Clinton guilty on all charges the military had laid out: the murders of Seth Rich, Vince Foster, and Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia, trafficking and abusing minors from Haiti and other third world nations, conspiring to assassinate a presidential candidate. Conspiring to assassinate, I don't know that one. And also, I don't know about the Scalia conspiracy or the Seth Rich or Vince Foster conspiracies. I should probably know the Seth Rich one because that one's really, really familiar. As she had throughout the tribunal, Clinton stayed eerily silent as the verdict was read, and the officers recommended she receive the death penalty for her crimes. Vice Admiral Hennick asked Clinton if she had preference in how the military carried out her sentence, but still she refused to speak. You refused counsel, you refused to defend yourself. This tribunal therefore decides that the defendant, detainee Hillary Rodham Clinton, be hanged by the neck until dead. Vice Admiral Hennick said flatly, the sentence will be carried out on April 26th, after taps. Huma Abedin, which again is Anthony Weiner's ex, will face her own military tribunal at a date yet to be decided, RRN has learned. Real Raw News has learned, right, has learned. But one of the more fascinating things about this whole thing was the comments. I read through some of these comments and they were a fucking trip, man. Will any MSM report on this after the event transpires? Can you indicate any plan for a reveal to the general public? No, MSM will not say anything about this. Why would they? They're as guilty of treason as she and they certainly have done nothing to inform Americans of any truthful happenings, have they? I hope and pray that someone got to her with Jesus Christ's offer of forgiveness. As horrendous as her situation was, I have to think that we really are in the political, social, and economic mess we're in because we didn't broadcast the word of God as ought to have done. There are some other comments on the Hillary Clinton hanged at Gitmo story. Let me read the first paragraph. Scrambled eggs with jalapeno peppers and a strawberry milkshake, the last meal of the condemned. They even made up her last meal. Who knows if she even likes this stuff? Hillary Rodham Clinton was hanged at Guantanamo Bay Monday night. Her death, the culmination of an operation that began on March 2nd when U.S. Navy SEALs on Donald J. Trump's authority. Again, really? Donald Trump's authority? He's not even the president anymore. He's nothing. He's a private citizen now. On Donald Trump's authority, arrested the disgraced politician at her Chappaqua, New York mansion. After a 5-day tribunal at the world's most infamous detention center, a 3-officer panel found Clinton guilty of murder, accessory to murder, treason, child trafficking, and other high crimes. Clinton, who had refused counsel, had uttered nary a word throughout the proceedings, and had taken Vice Admiral John G. Hannock's sentence of death with an unflinching gaze. I read the whole thing. It goes on to say she, threatened the guards at Guantanamo Bay, threatened their families, all kinds of nonsense. But I really wanted to read some of these messages, some of these comments here. I never thought we'd be rid of that horrifying female. Too bad Bill is too old and feeble to enjoy his freedom. Oh my God. Bill Clinton, all in caps, of course. Bill Clinton's already with her in hell having a party with their god Satan. What was executed was an official execution of a clone. The way I understand, both of them were executed in 2919. I assume they mean 2019. Barack Obama was also executed with his trans husband. After Obama threw his trans husband under the bus to gain leniency, but he blew it and was immediately taken back to Gitmo, and they blew while his trans was executed via injection. This is insane. Same with the half-breed German Jewish clan of the Bush family of traitors. My understanding is also that all of them have already been executed for public consumption. They might execute the clones later. Reason is that many sleeping sheep loved these traitors, and what the alliance is trying to do is avoid any chances for public revolution until they let the world know by way of emergency broadcast channel what has been happening in the shadows for more than 60 years. This stuff sounds like the ravings of a madman wearing tinfoil on his head. That's not it. This is entirely too popular. Tens of millions of members of QAnon believe this stuff. I talked to Chris Shelton about his estimates for how big QAnon is. He's looking into it, and he will give me his opinion on how big it is. My opinion, based on 2 studies from Pew Research Center and another one, is that QAnon is about 20 to 22 million people. 20 to 22 million. That's more Mormons than there are in the world. That's more Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses worldwide combined. QAnon is fucking huge. And this is a really, really popular belief in QAnon. What we just read. This is from Greater Idaho for Trump. Please, please destroy her DNA. Don't risk cloning. Read what David Icke says about royal families have been cloning their dead for centuries. Burial at sea. Not even a tooth left from cremation. Somebody responded, don't be stupid. Only God can make human beings. Someone else said she wasn't human. No, she was a human reptilian. Do your research. Clones aren't exactly human. Exactly, that's what I replied back to Diana Barahona. Apparently she hasn't dig in to know the truth. Wait until everything comes out. After the EBS, we will be shown 10 days of true facts and the evidence to the world, not just us. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do about this problem? No joke. This is tens of millions of people. Tens of millions of people in the United States. 22 million people. Do you know what percentage of the US that is if it's 22 million people? 7% of the United States. 7% of the United States believes this shit. That should be fucking scary. We have got to figure out how to deal with this problem as a society because it is not going away.